Bonjour tout le monde, comment allez-vous? Alors je fais ma vidéo aujourd'hui parce que j'avais pas du tout envie de la faire le jeudi dernier. Et hier je suis allée au travail, j'étais crevée en rentrant et je suis allée au lit avant 9 heures du soir. Ça faisait du bien de voir mes collègues après 10 semaines restées à la maison. Tout le monde n'était pas là, mais je vais aussi voir les autres collègues la semaine prochaine, alors je suis contente. Le trajet en train entre Canterbury et Londres n'était pas mal non plus. Il n'y avait pas beaucoup de monde et les gens ont bien gardé la distance, alors ça allait. Mais je pense que ça va être moins évident la semaine prochaine, quand il commence le déconfinement ici en Angleterre. Mais bon, on va voir. Alors, aujourd'hui, je vais partager mon expérience, comment j'ai étudié le français. Probablement, je vais le faire en anglais et aussi en vietnamien, mais dans une vidéo à part, parce que j'ai la flemme de faire des sous-titres. Vous pouvez regarder juste cette vidéo-là ou vous pouvez regarder toutes les deux, comme vous voulez. Dans la prochaine vidéo, je vais partager mon expérience, comment j'ai étudié le néerlandais. Je sais que le néerlandais n'est pas tellement populaire, mais je suis quand même contente que je l'ai fait. Mon néerlandais n'est toujours pas parfait, mais j'essaie de l'améliorer chaque jour. Alors si ça vous intéresse, je vous verrai dans la prochaine vidéo. Et maintenant c'est parti pour le français. So I started to learn French when I was 24. I must say that it was not that straightforward or conventional, and I was very lucky to have an unofficial teacher who happened to be a French native speaker and who was really good in French. It might sound a bit strange. He was French, so obviously he was good in French, but no, it's not true. Not every native speaker is good in his native language, right? Especially not for French. I don't know how many times it just hurt my eyes when I read what a French native speaker wrote on the internet with so many basic mistakes. And it was not that they were doing that to be cool or so. Literally, they didn't know they were making mistakes. So yeah, I was lucky that my friend was good in his language. But how did I study then? I started in a quite conventional way. I started in a school, in a language school, from the very beginning. Really from ABC, because I didn't know anything about French at that moment. It was very basic and I got bored quite quickly. So I started with my unofficial teacher. But I was very shy and not confident to speak to him in French in the beginning. So we chatted a lot on the computer. And it was really a mess. My desk at that moment. There were books and dictionaries everywhere. There were also a lot of websites opened on my computer so that I could check the grammar or the vocabulary when I chatted. I also wrote or tried to write a lot in French or translated texts or poetries from Vietnamese to French. I did use Google Translate in the beginning to have a first draft and then I would refine them. And then my friend would help me to correct the grammar, the vocabulary, and the expression so that it sound more natural. And the more I became confident, the less I had to check. And I suppose it was how I studied the grammar, the vocabulary, and improved my writing skill. And for my listening skill, I didn't watch TV a lot. I didn't listen to the radio a lot. It just didn't work for me. I found it difficult to focus and to follow the news. They were too short and they changed too often. And honestly, I didn't find them very appealing or interesting to hold my focus. So what did I do, or exactly what did we do together at that moment was we were watching a lot of comedy clips on YouTube. My friend has a quite old taste, I suppose. So I was exposed to some like old comedy groups like Les Inconnus, Les Nous C'est Nous, to Gad Elmaleh or Florence Foresti. I remember one of the most contemporary comedy shows I was watching at that moment was Un gars, une fille, and that was that. We were also watching a lot of comedy films like Astérix et Obélix, Les Visiteurs, Les Trois Frères, and actually the actors who played in Les Trois Frères are the artists from Les Inconnus, and I really like them a lot. We were also listening or watching a lot of old funny songs that we could find on YouTube, like Félicie aussi, Tout va très bien, Madame la Marquise, or Tu veux ou tu veux pas, stuff like that. And before we watched, we would look for text on the internet, and then my friend would explain to me about new words, all the wordplay, so the jeu de mots in French, in the text, so that I could understand better when we watched. And we often watch one clip more than once, not for the study, but it's just because I found them so funny that I just wanted to watch and rewatch many times to laugh. And I think it came in quite easily because I found them funny and interesting. And then for my pronunciation and speaking skill, it was also quite tricky in the beginning, not only because I was not confident to open my mouth, uh, but also because there were a lot of sounds that don't exist in Vietnamese. Um, Many of you probably know, like the sound of R, R in French, for example. So what I did for my R was to practice it when I was driving my scooter or my little motorbike. There was really a lot of noise on the street, and I was wearing a mask so no one would remark anything, and I was just doing all the way until my throat hurt, and yeah, it helped a lot for my practice. And there were also some other sounds like the nasal sound, for example. For untrained ears, it might sound um, exactly the same, but they were different. So it's also worth to practice them as well. And yeah, the more you practice, the better you will become. So it was pretty much how I studied French. To conclude, probably practice, practice, practice. And of course, it's not only for French but also for any other language you are learning. My journey with French was probably more about using French than studying it. And one thing I was also trying to do at that moment was I tried to think in French all the time. I tried to speak to myself in French. And at one moment, it really stopped the translation in my head. I remember that very moment when I went to a coffee shop with a friend. She didn't speak French, and she was telling me something in Vietnamese, but I was thinking about something else. And then suddenly she wanted to have my reaction or my answer or whatever, uh, but because I was not listening, so I didn't know what she was talking about. And the word that came from my mouth at that moment was quoi. is what in French. And suddenly I realized that I was thinking in French, and it was really a lovely moment. So I hope that my experience can somehow give you some new ideas for your journey with French. If you know or have any other effective way to learn French or languages, please share with me, with us. Next time I'm going to share my experience how I learned Dutch. It's quite different from my French experience, so please come back if you're interested. And thank you for watching. See ya.